Wash 60 in both of these. This is the first wash race, if you see this. First, may not be, but this is the first one. So, max loading Fast Wash 60 is A. £5 kilos. So I'm going to add Tesco non-bio to both, 70ml into both, and the Ultima gets a little bit of botanical origins because of what it's washing. So with the old, the WF541, technically it's newer. 5. Right, obviously it does at 60. And then the Ultima, what's that, Fast Wash once. So I would like to obviously do this as the base model versus the highest model. But we can't, because we don't have a WF. Well, technically it'll be a WF000. So if we do the base model versus the top of the range model, it'll be a WF100 versus the WT965A, or WT960. Or WF105A. It doesn't exist. But it doesn't really matter up to the Ultimas. When it gets to the Ultimas, it changes. So, no, we're sticking with the WF541 because it's still the same. It basically gave you that 1400 spin. Because it's a 5, it means it gives you the variable spin and temperature. Whereas if you have the 3, you just got variable temperature, and if you had the 1, you just got nothing. Apart from programs and 5 options. But they all came with the 5 options and they were all the same. So no changes in anything. Also just a little bit as well. So there's a 540, which was what would have been against this, and then the 541 that came out afterwards. So this came out later date after the Ultima WT965A. So technically this is newer than the Ultima, but that would have been still on sale whilst that was out. Basically, there was an update, not with programming or anything, just with how it built. So in other words, we got our WF drum that was updated to be sealed. Unfortunately, it was sealed in, but the filter was changed from the pump and filter at the back was moved to a cheaper pump with an accessible filter at the front. But it still runs the WF540 programming, other than it also spins anti-clockwise, not clockwise sometimes. In fact, actually I'm not too sure about that because I've seen Indesits identical models spin either way, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm sure the 541s and old ones spun anti-clockwise later on, whereas all WTs and all WF ending with zeros spun clockwise. The Ultima has its own unique programming on its own. If you notice, the Ultima's Fast Wash 60 only spins at 1200, not 1600. If you had a WF860, which gave you the 6 kilo drum, of course, the old 6 kilogram drum, same display and everything, but it would spin at 1600. It had a completely different programming to it. So it was both an hour long. They both took 5 kilo on, which was fine. But and it did spin at 1600. However, what I did notice is when I have used WF860 on the Fast Wash 60, is that it does go to 1600, but only so briefly that the 1200 on this is actually better at spinning than the 1600. Mostly because it also lasts 2 minutes longer on the final spin. It has a much smoother spin profile. But this has the old programming, so it should run like that. It should run like a WF860. I would like to get WF860 in at some point, or to wash race those two, because there is a lot of differences between them. But until that happens, we're going to do this. So basically it's basic versus top of the range, even though it's not quite basic, it's sort of mid-range, but the program is basic. So we're going to do the Fast Wash 60 base in a minute. We put the powder in and we'll sort of set the laundry. But before we start, I'm going to do a little introduction between these two and a little bit brief history on the Hotpoint ranges. So we've got the Ultima. This is the top of range. This is the WT960A. The A commanded, because it's all aluminium, an extra 50 quid when you bought it. Yeah. Over the P, the WT960, P, or the G. Yeah, so, yeah. And it also came out later than the Polar and the Graphite too. It was a lot later on colour. The WF541 is even younger than that. Because the 1 signifies nothing to do with the programming. That was carried over from the W540, and they're different there. But the drum is now sealed, and the pump was relocated from the back to the front with a filter and with a much cheaper pump. Although at least you could enter the filter for yourself for a change, as the built-in filter pretty much took out all the other WFs and Ultimas, ultimately getting scrapped because they wouldn't drain. However, so with these model codes, there is a 0 series, there's an even number series and an odd number series. So you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. If it's an even number, you've got the earliest versions of the machines. And this ran for a little while, not for very long, maybe just over a year or so, before they got changed to the odd number series. Which saw a few changes. Right. What you've got on the 0 series, you've got a time saver button, which is now missing on the odd number series, which then changed to washing hands. And I'm not entirely sure why washing hands has sort of been brought in, because they were already made to wash 6 kilo in the first place, and now washing hands, they're now made to wash 5 kilo without it. However, it did give you an extra program with washing hands, because wool now has 2 different cycles. You have a machine washable wool without the washing hands button, and push the washing hands and you get a gold wool mark on this one and a platinum on the Ultimas. Also, another thing was that the original ones had rubber dials on here, but that was about it. They also gave you pretty much the same. It was, and then you had, so basically you had 0 series and 1 series, which was your basic, that gave you a program dial and 5 options. Then you had the 2 and 3 series, which gave you the program dial and variable temperature and 5 buttons. And then you have 4 and 5, which gave you the program dial, spin speed and variable temperature. Then you had 6 and 7, which was the Aquarius Plus models, which gave you a program dial and a digital display, which also had incorporated time delay, variable spin and variable temperature, as well as your 5 wash options. Then you had the Ultima series 8 and 9, which is this one with the display here. It gave you a full display. It actually gave you 6 options, believe it or not. So you actually ended up with the additional pre-wash option, which was quite good actually, because pre-wash on all the series below was a separate program, program 1, but it only ran a pre-wash for cottons and synthetics. With the pre-wash button here, it allows you to actually add a pre-wash to some other programs too that weren't available before, i.e. silks. Gave you an option of pre-wash, which is great. Only a short pre-wash, but it was there to remove dust off curtains. Pretty good. It also gave you time delay, it also gave you variable spin, it gives you variable temperature, and supposedly variable rinse, but that never actually occurred, and it just became an extra rinse button in the end. It also gave you how dirty as well, which allows you to either increase time slightly or decrease time depending whether you've got light or heavy soiled. It does actually make quite a dramatic effect. On the 95, it gives you a half an hour plus or a half an hour less. On the 40, it's 15 minutes plus or 15 minutes less. pretty good. With the 7 and the 9 series, the model name got updated as well. So we went from WF series to a WT series. If you got the T series, you got a 7 kilogram drum as well. And it is actually bigger than the 6 kilo. It's a whole inch and a bit deeper. So it is actually physically bigger. Though, that being said, the cabinet never got bigger itself. So they managed to fit it in somehow. Quite impressive. Though to be fair, that belt runs so perilously at the back against the cabinet that on mine, it literally was shedding itself to pieces. And then it really did actually snap in the end after 7 years. Also, you got a memory function on the Ultima as well. So you got a lot more with the Ultima over, say, any of the others. It wasn't just... Whereas I find some of the later Ultimas actually have less than their lesser counterparts, but you pay more money for it. So there you go, 7 kilo. There's also a very rare WF540 lurking about, 1600 spin brushed. But very rare indeed. Most of these are 1400, both on the 4 and 5, 6 and 7 series. There's a few on the 3 and 2 as well. There's 1500 as well that was about on the 2 and the... I don't think there was one on the 4 though, oddly enough. Just on the 2. A lot of 12s, there was 11s, there was... And then the base model was always 1000. Okay. I find it quite odd though with the WF000, which is also really rare. There's a natural linen version of that as well. And it is rare. And it's only on the 0s, 2s and 4s. I don't think it was available on the 6s. And technically there was an Ultima version of the natural linen, but in catalogues, but I'd never seen one ever in real life. I've never seen one up for sale on eBay. I've never been in people's houses and seen one. I've never seen one, on YouTube or anything like that. In fact, you try to search it up on Google Images, and you're going to be struggling. But there was one. I'm sure there was a catalogue version. Whether anybody bought it, who knows? Because by then, obviously, sandstone had pretty much, gone out of fashion. Nobody's having wooden kitchens anymore, Right, let's set these up. Set on. We'll select program 5. Call fast wash 60, 400 spin. We can say at 95, it will still wash 60. Turn it on. Press the fast wash button once. 60 degrees, 1200 spin. Happy days. Oh, I'll just also show you something else as well. We can have extra rinse, we can have mini load, we can have rinse hold, we can have reduced creases with fast wash. Same, no different here. You can have mini load, reduced creases, rinse hold, extra rinse. No pre-wash, of course. So really flexible for a 60-minute wash, which they then ditched later on. our results then. Well, this lost by quite a lot as well, actually. It wasn't even a short loss, it was a big loss. Quite surprising, I suppose. Yeah, spin wise, they're not great. It did leave a lot of subs left, although that being said, it did seem to also create more subs, so. These are, as I said, they are better spun, despite this being 200 RPM slower. And for that reason, the WT960 / 965A Ultima wins. Next race.